Hello, everyone. You are listening to the award-winning To Hull and Back podcast, proudly sponsored by Old Zoological Bar and Kingfisher Fish and Chips in Hull. I'm your host, Nathaniel, and tonight to discuss another fantastic away win to put us 3 points clear of the bottom three, I'm joined by Ant, Joe, and Will in what will hopefully be a happy pod. And essentially, the main thing to say is we've got the first comment even before we went live. Jez P says, "What a win! What a win!"
What a win.
Well, I predicted a win anyway, so it's no surprise to me.
Well, you always predict 3-0, so you can't.
I was the only one to predict a win, wasn't I?
No, but we don't abuse you too much when we don't win 3-0, so you can't take credit for when they do win. And it wasn't 3-0, you were wrong. So
I predicted a win, that's what I said.
I so wanted to predict a win. Of course, I'm sure we'll just keep going on and on and on about it, but the away form and the home form, it's still crazy that they're so different. But yeah, even though I didn't predict it, that there was, of course, with it being an away match, the possibility to do the Sheffield United thing again. And it was another fantastic defensive performance. Of course, slightly less going up front, but we didn't even have to score. It was that easy. And of course, Lee says, great win ending Sunderland's unbeaten home record. So was that even more impressive than the Sheffield United victory?
I think they're equally impressive in different ways. Sheffield United, we turned up to a team who, three other teams had scored, their away teams had scored there before we turned up. We go and win 3-0. And it was an impressive performance, and it was one where we played some good stuff, but we did our fair bit of defensive work as well and had a slice of luck along the way with the offside that we've still not determined whether it was right or not. Again, we had a bit of a slice of luck at Sunderland with the Louis Coyle handball, but that's revenge for Chris Mepham, you cheating scumbags.
What handball? Nah, nonsense. Nonsense. We deservedly won.
The McLaughlin one in the first half is another one that we potentially got away with, because I think if there's VAR, both of them go to VAR and get given penalties, but it isn't, so who cares? And then, the first half, like I said to you guys before we went live, I was watching it on my phone at the under-18s, so I didn't see all of it, but from what I saw, we had some good bits of possession in the first half. Obviously got the goal, which I'm sure we'll get into. Could have had a couple of others if Crooks had shot or just kept himself onside in the second. But again, defended really, really well. Coyle's had a lot of criticism this year. He was fantastic. Jones playing on the right side when Hughes came back in alongside him, looked way more settled. McLaughlin had a good game. And, well, we've named the episode after him, Elio Matazo. Jesus. Unbelievable. What was it a Sunderland fan said to you, Ant, that he was like a Kante in the midfield?
He said something like, yeah, but it wasn't really fair, was it? Because these guys had N'Golo Kante in midfield, so I think the match should be replayed. The guy was everywhere. He couldn't believe what he was watching, kind of thing. And he was outstanding. And I think every single Sunderland fan that I've spoken to on any social media has just been like, yeah, how they've signed that lad in midfield is unreal, because he just ran the game.
Because he wanted to come to a superior sort of marina sort of city. It's much better than Monaco again.
Cheaper cost of
He
living.
leaves Monaco and they go out the Champions League. There you go.
The Matazo effect, yeah. I think the profile of him, when you look at them from afar on the pitch, I think the Kante comparison is very easy to make. I think he played pretty well against Stoke, and I didn't think he'd done so well in the previous games, but that was a great performance. And just like against Sheffield United, we didn't just sit back for the whole match. And there were some good counters, but we actually did play some good football. We got the goal from the set piece. Really, that could go down as a Gelhardt goal, maybe a Robertson goal, maybe a Patterson goal, or Hughes could have touched it in. So really, just take your pick.
The ball was in Newcastle when Charlie Hughes touched it. That's never his.
Gelhardt thought he was James Ward-Prowse for a brief moment.
He nearly was again, though, to be fair. He tried it again, didn't
Maybe
he?
that's our solution to our set-piece issue. Just have Gelhardt take him.
Just go direct from him. Just go trying to get it on someone's head. Just put it in the net.
Yeah. Yeah, quite right. I mean, Gelhardt, of course, getting a goal contribution against his former team, pretty typical. We could have got burst on one. Maybe he would have done the same against his former side. But yeah, the set pieces have been a little bit better. Of course, they scored one against Stoke and now Sunderland. So good to see that. And of course, your namesake, unfortunate, well, not unfortunate, but it was a really nice finish from yourself in the second half. That was ruled out. So we could have had another one as well.
Yeah, I mean, the only criticism for that goal is that I think Joseph should put it in. But obviously, like you say, when the ball flicks up in the air, if he's just literally a yard back, then that's 2-0. And you'd have backed us from that point onwards to win. Obviously, we went on to win anyway. But that would have been another big goal, obviously, helping with the goal difference and stuff. But again, it was a really good move. Exploiting the space on the counter, which is something we do consistently away from home now. Maybe something we can't do at home because teams don't sort of give us that space that we want in order to do that, and especially in the wide areas. But yeah, no, that would have been a nice tidy finish, and it would have put Crooks as our second joint top scorer, which maybe highlights the current problem. Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, speaking of whoever our second top goal scorer is, because the corner went down as a Patterson goal, technically the second top goal scorer for us at the moment is own goals on 4.
Yeah.
So,
I think we know what the current problem is, don't we?
Yeah, because if you look at it, I think we've actually scored the second highest or second lowest in the league. Sorry, second highest, I wish. And I think we're 12th or 13th for goals conceded. So even though we're always complaining about the lack of clean sheets, we usually only concede 1 or 2 a match. We've never really been thumped. So yeah, it is the goal scoring at the moment. I thought Joseph made a better impact than in the previous game. Still didn't get his goal. Maybe he should have scored, but he had a few actual chances to score, and he just seemed to get involved in the play a little bit more. I think maybe he could start against Cardiff because it's been a while Pedro since he scored as well. But I thought he played much better. Coxey says he's not known for being clinical, but he offered a little bit more. He was just present, which is what he needed to be. I think in the previous appearances off the bench, he's not really got on the ball quite as much. Well, Joe, you've actually seen Lincoln play more than any of us recently. That's a pun because, of course, it's not that Lincoln. But what did you think of his debut? Because he came in perhaps earlier than he was expecting to because of the Barry injury.
Well, I said all week Lincoln would not play more than 40 minutes for Hull City. And then he gets subbed on against Sunderland with an hour to go. Immediately.
And you don't mean 40 minutes in the match, you mean 40 minutes for the whole season.
40 minutes for his entire Hull City career. But I think it's clear, in a sense, from the little bits I saw of him and from what the overwhelming view is on social media, that he has the potential to be not just another Turkey scrap heap signing. That the ability is clearly there. But we said the same about Amer last year, and look what we think of him now. So I am still it is, still only one game. So I'm not putting my neck out on the line and saying he's a world beater. But defensively, he worked hard. He looked lively. And from a debut, your first game in England, your first game for a new club, I think that's all you can really ask for. And it's clear to see that Ruben, when he said in the press conferences, yeah, he's not a bad player. I like him. He's not just saying it to appease the man upstairs. We've got a little glimpse into what he has seen. And it's just about making sure he's fit enough, I think, because with Louis Barry injured for however long we don't know yet, and there isn't a pre-match press opportunity before the Cardiff game just because of how schedules work. We won't know the extent of Barry's injury until Tuesday night. So he has to be careful that although I think he does want to play Lincoln, he might not have, he obviously said yes to the signing. It might not have been one he was aware of and actively targeting as he looked ahead to January. But it's clear that he's approved it in the same way that Rosinha approved, like Amer, Panda, etc. Belly. But he just needs to be careful in terms of managing Lincoln's minutes because he's not played for a while. He's had a little bit of an injury, I think, coming into coming out of the Brazilian season, going back to Fener, then on to here. So it's just about managing him so he gets the minutes we all want to see him get and see what he's like as a player, but also not like ruling him out in a sense.
Did you see enough of him, Ant, to think that he isn't going to be another, I like that phrase, Turkish scrap heap signing?
Yeah, like Joe says, he looked promising, but so did for the last 6 months of last season. So it's one of them where I think if he's going to be here from now to the end of the season and helps us and he puts in those kind of performances and helps us stay in the league, then he's been a decent signing because that's what we brought him here to do. I thought he tracked back well, defended, supported the fullback a lot. I was sat watching him and thought we should probably just play him as a left back because he looked pretty competent going back in defensive sense. That might fix the left back situation. The commentators mentioned that Matazo has played right back before, so maybe they could be fullback going forwards, and we can put Gus back in the middle. That might be the way to go. But no, I thought he looked good. I thought he looked like he had a good delivery on him as well. He gets his head up and tries to get the ball in the box, and that's something that I like to see because sometimes, especially in modern football, you see us just pander about with the ball loads on the end of the box and just not put it in. And you just sat there and you're like, please cross the ball. And I think he's going to be one of those players who's going to do that. So if he can pop in with a few assists just by sticking the ball in the box to someone like Crooks or Joseph Pedro, then yeah, great signing. But I liked what I saw of him.
I mean, if he just plays the same way, considering he's only on loan and we sign on a permanent, if he can replicate the performances Amir had for the first few months, that's all he has to do because he's only a January signing. I really do hope we see him and Pedro attacking up front, at some point. I'm not saying playing as a striker, but of course, both former Fenerbahce players, both Brazilian. I think, the old FIFA chemistry. Yeah, that'd be a green bar, a green link between the two of them. So my parents watching this won't have a clue what I'm talking about there, but I'll explain afterwards. That would be very exciting to see. Of course, Barry is a bit of a miss. I'm not sure it's going to be another ACL, fortunately. But if Barry isn't playing on Tuesday, do you think you'd be happy enough to see Lincoln start? Or do you think maybe he wouldn't be fit enough to do that just yet?
I mean, if Barry is injured, Lincoln might be the only choice, theoretically.
But there's always Kamara.
As I said, Lincoln might be the only choice. Yeah, I thought he looked okay when he came on. Not amazing, but not horrible either. Lincoln makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool.
It is worth mentioning, though, of course, that even back in the olden days, Dodo Cynic had about a 30-minute spell that was okay. So I wouldn't judge Lincoln completely just yet.
Oh, well, with Barry injured, he might be back in the team, Cynic. He might be back in at some point. He's fit, isn't
Cynic's going to score the goal.
Yeah.
He's going to score the winning goal against Derby and keep
if he does, give him a statue.
Yeah. Renew his contract.
I think the statue's a little bit overstating Dokan Cynic's importance.
Fair enough, look, and then name a stand after him.
Name all the stands after him.
The Dokan Cynic South stand, Jesus. I've just seen a comment in the chat too, one from Ian about the backbone of a decent team for next season. I saw a thread on Twitter when I was on my way back to where I am now, ready for uni tomorrow, and I agree with an awful lot of it. It was in response to a tweet Baz made about the performance of people like Coyle, Jones, and someone, I can't remember for the life of me who it was, pointed out that Tim Walter has got, blood on his hands, and so has Adjan for appointing him, because these footballers, they've clearly got some talent, like Alzate, we're seeing now. Coyle we saw before Walter turned up. Jones we saw before Walter turned up, just as examples. But Tim destroyed their confidence. And as footballers, as young men, sometimes when that confidence goes, your entire sort of like mental space goes as well. And you all of a sudden you're doubting every decision that you're making. And with that level of upheaval and instability, it was always going to be a different season to what we had last year in terms of league position. I don't think anyone expected it to be quite this bad. But Baz made the point in a response to the tweet outlining that you give Ruben this platform with a well thought out transfer window and a solid pre-season, then next year is looking very different to this year. And with the form we've got under Ruben already, it's solid mid-table championship level form.
Yeah.
So far in his spell at Hull City. We sort the home form out, and then all of a sudden we're looking further up the league and looking at playoff aspirations again.
Win the league, to be honest.
So it was a really, really good couple of tweets that I saw, and I'll try and find who it was at some point and retweet it or whatever. Just as a sort of way of crediting what I'm saying on here. And it's hard to argue with a lot of it from whoever this was that I'm quoting, and Baz as well. Yeah, some fantastic points. And if we work this transfer window well, I'm convinced by Gelhardt, I was after about 3 games, keep that man here. If Leeds go up, Leeds stay down in the Championship, whatever, pay the money.
They don't need him, do they? They don't need him.
He's third choice at least just because they've got better players. Keep him here. Matazo's ours, Alzate's ours, Hughes is ours, Panda's ours. Bellumi and Miller have to come back. Bellumi, who I think will make a massive difference in a Ruben Sayers team once he's fit.
I think you want a left back and probably a striker, though we have young Bosto and Joseph. But a left back is like the only one that you really got to get. I mean,
2.
Probably 2 right backs. Yeah.
Yeah, like get a left back. That's the bare minimum. Get a left back and strengthen in other areas. Like I say, Gelhardt, maybe make Puerta permanent. Who knows what happens with Zambrano. But we have got a decent team here. And if we build on that, then things are looking up again after what has been such a difficult year. And with regards Amrabat, if he's doing the job Ruben Sayers wants him to do, as be like a dressing room leader, then keep him. I don't care.
Do you not? No, he's 37.
Nah, let's be honest.
Come on.
Bellumi and Miller coming back means Amrabat isn't going to play at all if he's here next year.
I like Amrabat,
and
but
starting him as well, the comment I saw from Scott. I don't think Amrabat, if he started, would be... Well, I think he'd be subbed off before half time because I just don't think he could do it.
Well, I mean, of course, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Ian saying I'm getting excited. No, I'm not getting too excited because we are only the 3 points off the bottom 3. We're up to 20th now, which is nice. But in midweek, it was a huge result for us. Both the teams below us didn't win because they played each other. Luton won on Plymouth. And then Derby lost in the last minute. Hopefully that crushes their confidence. And then Plymouth drew with Cardiff and Luton lost in the derby to Watford. So if we can get a point at least out of the Cardiff game, then we'll be at least 4 points above the bottom 3. And that'll be the biggest gap we've had between us and the bottom 3 since Volta was in charge a long time ago, actually now. Probably the win against QPR. So things are looking up.
Isn't it?
It's very bleak. It's very bleak. Now, no one's actually mentioned it, and no one has quite rightly come out and criticised me just yet, but I want to make a public apology. Gustavo Puerta played for Hull City against Sunderland. Didn't start.
It's almost like there isn't a conspiracy in what I said last week was true and what Christian said was true. It's a load of rubbish.
Now, of course, Puerta didn't come on and score a goal, and he didn't, win us the game single-handedly. But again, something I might like to point out is that he didn't play the last 2 games, and we didn't win those, and he was involved against Sunderland, and we won that match. So, maybe we should have been playing more than long. Not to say I know more than Sayers, but it's just nice to see him come off the bench and have an impact, and hopefully carry on doing so. He had some nice touches off the bench, but just shows how many options we've got, and I'm much happier that he's come on, and we have been part of to be part of a winning team there. So that was very good. Hughes back, of course. First time Hughes has been on the pitch once we've got a clean sheet. And for the runner, and how big will that be to have him back in the squad?
Massive. I think we looked so much more composed with him at the back. Jones looked better on the right-hand side as well. I think Maka looked stronger having him alongside him as well. Just the whole team seems to get a lift with Hughes. He's so dominant in the air. He's so much more composed on the ball as well. He helps us in our build-up play. He can actually spread quite a nice diag as well. He reminds me of like back in the days of Dawson when he could play them long passes up to the wing, and he gives us a threat at set pieces as well. So I think he's going to be big. I think he's clearly a character as well. He loves it. He saw his celebrations after the final whistle. You want those kind of players in and around the team that've got that infectious positivity and attitude and leadership as well. I think he brings you as well. So he's going to be a big player for us. And I think the back four issues this season will hopefully, now that we're getting clean sheets on a more regular basis, if we can try and get that home clean sheet and get Charlie Hughes as involved in that, then we might be looking upwards, like we say, for the rest of the season rather than over our shoulders. So yeah, he's going to be absolutely massive for us, Hughesy, and he will be next season if we can stay in this league as well.
He's not injured at all, is he? Not a chance. The way he was celebrating at the end. He'll be fine.
They said, didn't they, that he came off he felt a little bit of tightness and he took himself off as a precaution. So I feel like he felt if it had continued, it might have become an injury. So he took himself out of the equation because he didn't want that to happen, which is, again, a very good move on his behalf and shows his maturity as a player that he put the team above himself. Because normally a player would just want to stay on the pitch for as long as possible, even if they're injured. And he says, no, I need to get myself off because that could be a hindrance here.
Mm-hmm. Well, Joe, you may have mentioned it on Tigers Talk on Wednesday, and Will, I know that you're not going to be bothered because you're actually using the language Kyle used at the Norwich game on your bio there. But does anyone want to talk about the nonsense that Kyle was getting criticised for?
No, because you just called it what it is, nonsense.
Or precisely.
Non-story, move on.
People just find an excuse to bash Kyle again. Shock horror.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, I saw a sarcastic tweet. Some people thought it was genuine, but Jones and Kyle, of course, later came off the bench. Part of a win away at Sunderland, clearly just complete garbage and need to be sold. Maybe, one swallow doesn't make a summer, but yeah, they can still have an impact. So, yeah, and Kyle defended better than Alexander Arnold did today. I think Doku went past him 15, 20 times on the wing. Kyle...
You see that regularly. Trent is not a defender. He's like himself. He's a winger. Every time he's one-on-one with the player, he gets done. I don't know why. He's lying to himself saying he's a right back. So yeah, that's a normal sight.
I'd agree with that. Was there anything else on the Sunderland game? I'm not too sure.
Alzate, I want to mention.
Which
him and Matazo are just a cut above. They are in a class of two. And unbelievable players. If we build that midfield around those two, and shout out to Crooks as well, then, yeah, if we stay in this division, which I think we will, and I've maintained that for a while, yeah, those two at the heart of our midfield every week. Oh,
it's a good
our midfield our midfield's easily our strongest. Like, there's so much depth and quality in the middle of the park. We're a bit like, have you ever seen the meme where it's got like the 3 dragon heads and one's like 2 are quite daft and 1 looks serious? So like our defense and attack would be the daft ones and the midfield ones the serious one. Like like if we can just sort of keep the basis of that midfield and as many players in there as we can, we've got some real quality leadership, goal scorers, possession-based players. We've got it all in the middle. Physicality, work rate, endeavour. It's all there. So if we can just sort of fix the fullback areas and really get some consistent goal scorers at the top end of the pitch, we've got a really good team. The midfield is by far, I mean, that you've got an headache now because, you've got like, obviously Matazo, Crooks, Puerta, and he's even Slater if he can get himself back into the fold as well. Like, we've got depth there, and that's something that we were all complaining about at the start of the season was that midfield depth has been probably an issue in the past, but I feel like we've got a perfect blend in the middle there. Now you'd struggle to pick a strongest midfield 3, I think. Alzate for me has to start every game. Matazo, I think, probably will start the vast majority of what we got left, and then maybe you rotate Crooks and Puerta in that sense, and then you've got Slater or whichever of the other 2 don't play, come on off the bench to give us a bit more energy to see a game out and things. So yeah, the midfield's absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, and if we didn't have all these wingers getting injured, I think Lincoln could probably play in midfield as well, and perhaps more so than out wide. I was going to say something else interesting, but I've completely forgotten. Ian Templeman said Sunderland's biggest crowd of the season, and we completely silenced them, which is very nice. And someone needs to say something because I've completely lost my.
Something.
Very good one.
It comes back, doesn't it? This whole Sunderland win. It's similar to Sheffield United. That even though if like, let's say like we lost to Stoke, if we go and lose to Cardiff, in a sense it becomes meaningless because if you swap those results around, then we're still on the same points or whatever. And like I said, after Sheffield United, we have to build on this. We've got, Cardiff coming up, then Plymouth, then Bristol City, then Oxford. Out of those 4 games, we need to be getting points out of all of them as a minimum, probably bar Bristol City because our record there is appalling. But because we're away, I back us. And I think if we don't get anything out of Cardiff, because typical City is always a thing, I think we do need to sort of we risk being in the same position we were in after Sheffield United, where we're all on such a high, like we're going to win the league, but then after the loss to Stoke, it's right, we're getting relegated again. If you swap those results around, we're on the same points. Just everyone, public service announcement, don't be batshit on Twitter right as we lose. Just take a step back and breathe.
If there's one team we actually have a good record against that we can easily mess up, it's Cardiff.
Yeah, but 7 wins in a row.
I think the problem is that it's the impact of the teams that we're playing. So if we you didn't expect us to beat Sunderland, yet we went there and win. So it's like a massive, oh my God, what have we just done? We can prove, if we can mix it up with the best teams in this league, as we've shown all season now, that we can do that. But then it's when we go and follow it up with a loss to someone like Plymouth, then it's like, well, what are we doing? Like, it's so bizarre, isn't it? Because Plymouth haven't won a single away game this season.
Ooh.
In the same way that Sunderland hadn't lost a home game.
Yeah, but it'd be typical for us to be the
that's
team.
What I mean, but that is what typical City is. It would be us to go to Sunderland.
That's what I'm saying.
And then lose, and then give Plymouth their first away game win of the season, isn't it? So, but our fate's in our own hands now. You look, that result's massive because it's given us a bit of breathing space, but we've got all the teams around us. And if we can just either avoid defeat in the vast majority of them or beat 2 or 3 of them, we're staying in the league. The only problem is the vast majority of them are at home. So we just gotta we can stay in this league. It's up to us because we just beat the teams around us now from now to the rest of the season. But as all City fans know, it's not really that simple for us, is it?
Well, I think hopefully we can build a bit of momentum because we didn't get to do that against Stoke. So I think it was 8 days between the Sheffield United and Stoke game. But we've got Tuesday night another away match. Cardiff have the worst home form in the league bar us, so surely it's the best away game for us to go and win, and if we can do that, then I think we'll probably, even if we didn't beat Plymouth, if we got something out of the Plymouth game, I think 4 points in the next 2 either way. I think you'd rather just get the duck off your back at home, get a draw away at Cardiff. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on that match, but no one else is playing that night. So it's just sort of guaranteed if you get anything, you push that bit further away from the bottom 3. So you'd like to get, if it was the 4 points, beat Plymouth.
I think this is our best opportunity to put a real run of results together for the first time since we did the 3 wins in a row. Like we got a point against Norwich. We've just beaten Sunderland away, so that's 4 points from 2 games. We can go and get something from Cardiff and get something from Plymouth. That's a good run of 4 games where we've not lost, we've got points from. And it gives us that momentum to go into it. I think this is a real opportunity now for us to just sort of solidify our status as a championship team. This is a massive 2 games for us, I think. If we can win both these games,
we'll be staying up easy.
So, but
we'll push on from that point. Yeah.
Well, I said it up there, didn't I? I said that I'd be more worried about the home form if we weren't showing anything. But the Norwich game, the Stoke game, Leeds, We've seen glimpses there. Borough, we held on until the very last minute. There is some good football and some good resolute play, resilient play in these negative results. So it's just about putting the whole thing together. And, regard going to Cardiff, dating back to February 2014 when we beat them 4-0, we've won 5 out of 7 games at their ground. So, like Will said earlier on, if there's any place that we can go and back up a win away against 4th in the league who have not lost at home all year, it's Cardiff with our record there.
Yeah. Now, if you want to feel a little better about our squad, though, of course, we have just been waxing never closed them, would anyone like me to read the lineup from the last time we didn't win away at Cardiff?
It was the 3-0 on the last day of the season, wasn't it, when we got relegated to League One?
When we got relegated, a miserable day. You can say no, because it is just going to be me naming 11 garbage players. It's not really that exciting.
Long in goal.
I was going to say, name them.
Played. McDonald played. You've got Kevin Stewart in there. John Terrell.
Stop taking it from Nathaniel. He wants to do it.
Well,
I'm just trying to have a guess. How many of those have I got?
You've got a few of them. De Silva Lopez was at right back. Pennington wasn't there. We weren't quite that bad. We were bad, but I think we'd finally agreed that we weren't going to play him again. The front four: Scott, Honeyman, Wilkes, and Eves. Of course, Wilkes and Eves. Wilkes and Honeyman.
James Scott existed. Jesus.
Some of them did all right, but Scott is in Scotland now. Stewart and Batty as the pivot, if you want to be, silly like that and say pivot. That is diabolical. Stewart is not playing for anyone at the moment,
as far as I'm aware.
And then Batty's in the National League. Garbage. The only player you'd say could get in anywhere near close to our team is Elder, because he is a left back. But then again, McLaughlin, I think, has been playing really well, and especially away from home, away at Cardiff. I think you want the bodies in there to defend the set pieces. So, a really diabolical team there, and our squad is infinitely much better. Lee and then Shep say Reece Burke and Josh Bowler. I think, did Burke? He must have been injured or something.
Burke, they must have been
League One with us.
Yeah, because we sold Burke, didn't we? At the end of was it in January in the League One season?
No. Device went out on loan to QPR, then we sold him. I think both Burke and George Long were contract ending in the summer, and they went to Millwall and Luton.
They did, yeah. Of course.
The season we went down to League One.
They left the year after, I think, didn't they?
I was going to say, Honeyman definitely played for us in League One, as did Burke.
I said George Long.
Long, yeah.
You definitely said Honeyman.
No, I said George Long.
No, okay. Honeyman, we definitely know where Honeyman was. Speaking of Luton and Reece Burke at Luton, I'm shocked that they're bottom of the league.
As well.
Josh Bowler at Luton, quite right, yes.
Liam Walsh starting every week.
I just don't understand the recruitment policy from Luton. They've signed some decent Championship players in January. It doesn't seem to have made any impact. Matt Bloomfield, again, as an appointment. It's like they have the money from the parachute payments, but they just refuse to spend it. I just don't quite understand it, because and I've had some uppity Luton fans in my Twitter mentions over the last few years, especially the comparison between Micah Serry and Jordan Clark. Clearly Luton had a good season, and then probably half a season in the Premier League where they were decent. But I think the quality of their players has eventually been found out, and they've not got any confidence. And it just seems like a club that is going backwards and has less ambition than initially it seemed, because they're going to be in a worse position.
They're like the ultimate yo-yo. They went all the way down to the National League, they went all the way back up to the Prem, and now they're all the way back down again. So they're bouncing between two divisions. They're just going to do the Football League.
The whole Football League, yeah. Crazy. So I think they have their match next weekend against Portsmouth at home. If they don't beat Portsmouth, I think they're gone. Especially
They were absolutely they were honking today. I watched them. They looked bad. They looked like, to me, that's a spot sorted. If that's how they're playing and it continues in that vein for the rest of the season, I can't see them recovering. Especially if we get a decent result against Cardiff, because I think Cardiff will also stay up as well. So I think that they're just going to leave themselves too much to do. And it's mad as well because they've got players like Carlton Morris and that score goals, because scoring goals in the Premier League, and it just seems to have just evaporated this season. I know they lost Ross Barkley when I spoke to the Luton fans on a podcast. He was absolutely key to everything they did. And when
they wanted him in the England squad.
Yeah, that they never really replaced him. But they still had decent players. They didn't have Barkley when they got promoted from this league last time, so very bizarre.
Yeah, it's essentially the same team. I think they're probably the most likely to go down at this point because they just can't score goals. I think Derby, what's his face? Who's their new manager? What's he called?
Eustace.
He's
John
gone
Eustace,
there.
sorry, not Paul.
John Eustace, yes. They've lost 2 games and bitterly disappointing way for them to concede in the last minute after serving a penalty at home to Millwall. And then I think Plymouth might actually be the most likely. Their FA Cup run might give them a bit of confidence. They're pretty decent. Is it Home Park? Their home stadium? They're pretty decent there. I think Ryan Hardy started to score a few, and they haven't really missed Morgan Whittaker that much because he's not even scored that many goals this season.
It's actually been better without him.
Yeah.
And Middlesbrough have lost every game since signing him.
Yeah.
Middlesbrough have lost every game since they signed Giles, haven't they?
Yeah. He wasn't even in the squad for the last game.
I think clearly because we definitely won. We definitely won the January transfer window, at least on paper, last season, and Middlesbrough looked like they'd done the same this season. It looks like if you win the January transfer window in a playoff race, you just completely fall off a cliff because I think it's 5 or 6 league defeats in a row for them. Carrick's clearly been found out.
As brilliant as it is seeing Giles struggle, it's also like kind of a bad thing because it means that we're going to struggle to shift him in summer, aren't we? Well, for any fee that we'd find acceptable, at least.
Well, I've seen a few people like Enshep here in the comments give us Alfie Doherty. The last left wing back we signed from Luton was Ryan Giles, and so I don't think we want to make the same mistake again, because again he is a left wing back. Definitely, they play 5 at the back, just the same system they've always played. So we need to sign a left back. Like I think is it Ballymumba from Plymouth if they go down. I think he's a more of a wing back as well.
Yeah, but the difference is that Doughty can actually defend. If you actually watch him, he's a good all-round player. So he is a wing back probably by trade, but you could easily play him as a left back and he would do a job. And that is something we're missing, is a marauding fullback that can overlap and go beyond the winger to give us an extra option from the byline to get into, especially at home games, because we just don't have it. When was the last time we had a proper overlapping fullback?
Andy Robertson.
Well, I was about to say, Liverpool apparently are being rumoured with left backs right and centre. Maybe we can get Andy back.
Maybe. Well, actually, Josh Emmanuel used to do it really well. He was good going forwards.
He's just been released by Donny, though.
Get him back. Get him in.
I don't know about that. Never go back, eh? I mean, it's an absolutely massive game against Cardiff. I'm sure we might have a few more things to talk about, but we've won. It's a bit of a positive podcast. Maybe we have fewer things to complain about. But, well, what changes would we make for the Cardiff game? I think the back 4 is probably going to be the same. I think the only one is, do you change maybe the striker?
The only one's enforced.
Take Barry out, yeah. So I don't know if Lincoln is going to be fit enough to start. I think they were probably surprised at how many minutes he played. So I probably want to bring him off the bench. Equally, who else do you play? Because
Amrabat.
Amrabat would be dead within half an hour. So you bring in, you bring Lincoln on for the last
What's this hatred of Amrabat?
Well, there's no hatred of Amrabat. He's 37. So fitness.
Dino was 39 when he won as a promotion to the Prem.
That was.
You're just not like old people, Nathaniel. You're just not like us.
Well, I am so very young. I'm going to be old on Tuesday. It's my birthday on Tuesday. The last time it was my birthday and we played Cardiff away, we won 4-0 in the Premier League. and Janovic scored those two.
Cardiff is always a good barometer as to if something's wrong. If we don't beat Cardiff, then there's an issue because with Cardiff are usually a banker for 3 points. So,
yeah,
especially away from them, we always usually get 3 or 4. And then our current form, you would expect that would be entirely possible again. And obviously, we tonked them at home earlier, didn't we, with Volta? So,
even Volta can beat them. I reckon we can get the win. I think probably just because of what they've done before, I wouldn't be surprised to see Pedro start, seeing as Joseph started the game. And I imagine we probably have a bit more possession. We're not going to be pushed back because I think the reason why Joseph has started those games, Sunderland, Burnley, Sheffield United, we need the pace up front to hit them on the counter, whereas maybe we don't have to.
It's to help with the press, isn't it? I think it wants that high energy press, high press, force an issue up the pitch, and Joseph's good for that. Pedro will give you about 45 minutes of it, and then he'll tailor off a bit. So I think he goes with the in them kind of games. He wants Joseph to tire the defenders out with Gellart, and then bring Pedro on in the second half when the centre halves are a bit more fatigued and exploit the space. It's probably I think that's the tactic to do away from home is start Joseph and bring Pedro on. I think that's the best because, like we say, just tire him out, and then Pedro can hopefully pick up the empty spaces at the end and get us over the line like he did with United.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Who would we want to see come in on the left wing? Because I think Barry, he might be back, maybe Plymouth or after that.
Is Kamara fit?
It was illness, so I think the most likely thing is Gellhart moves left and Kamara comes in on the right for Barry.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the sensible thing, not risking Lincoln. Again, after Bairstow's last performance on the wing, bringing Kamara in would be the sensible thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's and then you get Lincoln on sort of later in the match, maybe Amrabat, who I think has looked very good. I just, considering he's only played 10 minutes at the most, I just don't see him starting. I think we'll probably have to play Kamara. It'll be a real shame after signing Barry to go back to Kamara after 2 starts. Very disappointing about that. And of course, Parlo is going to be back fit soon as well. I'm not sure how he actually gets into the team, but I'm sure he'll be able to make an impact. So, maybe get Puerto and Lincoln on later in the game to try and win it. Will, I don't think that your prediction here away at Cardiff would actually be too bad of a prediction, given how good we are away from home and want to make it 8 in a row. So, Will, I'll go to you first for a prediction.
Well, 3-0 City. Hull City.
Nice.
Amrabat hat-trick since you hate him.
I do not hate Northern Amrabat. I love Northern Amrabat. I think he's been really good, but he's clearly not fit enough to start. He's just not got enough in the tank, I don't think. Sorry. That's the new conspiracy theory. It's a new conspiracy theory. I don't believe Amrabat is going to start a match until he does. How about that?
I was saying earlier in the week, Amrabat won't start a game unless we're safe when we go to Portsmouth and there's nothing to play for.
Just give him a laugh, yeah.
No one cares. It's last game of the season. There's nothing to play for. I mean, clubs shouldn't do starts for swan songs, but come on, chuck him in.
Yeah, I desperately want us to be safe against Portsmouth, and we're playing a front 3. It doesn't matter who's up front, but you can play.
We'll be safe when we play Portsmouth.
Yes, Cynic and
we'll send down Derby the week before and confirm that we're staying up.
Cynic, Bairstow, Amrabat up front.
I'd like to see Bairstow through the middle. To be fair,
I would. I think there's a player in there. He's a young player. He's done okay, and he's been a whole lot better than a lot of strikers that we've seen at Hull City over the last decades, isn't he? He's made a contribution. He scored more than 1 goal. That's got to count for something. So
I was going to say you put Cynic left, and then Amrabat right, but then you put Crooks up front. Again, it's just for a laugh.
Yeah.
To be fair, anyway.
Or Slater, so we can finally get his goal. Or just see him miss as many sitters as he wants.
I can already see it now. Final game of the season, he's still not scored. We get a penalty in like the 98th minute. We're 2-0 down or 2-0 up or whatever. Give it to Slater and he just blazes it over the bar.
Oh, it's 0-0. And, just give it to him anyway. No. That'd be kind of fun, though.
Anyway, predictions again.
Yeah, Joe, I'll go to you then.
Now, I don't want to tempt fate too much, so I'm going to say we will win, and I desperately want to match Will's 3-0, but I'm not going to because I feel like I'd jinx it. So I'm going for 2-0 Hull City.
Who's going to score? And about Brace?
Gelhardt gets one.
Yeah.
And Zhao gets back on the score sheet.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Well, I'm always going last because I'm the Lord Supreme Ultra Mega Host Deluxe, and I'll go to you then next.
4-0 Hull City.
Oh,
Hey!
Go on.
Listen, Cardiff, there's not many games that I go into and I think, this should be an absolute breeze. But Cardiff, just given our record against them in recent years, and as we know, with records with Bergie teams, it tends to be a thing because we have a really good record at Stadium of Light as well, and we went there and won. So I just think that this is a real chance to just proper hammer home that we're staying in the league, demoralise another team that's down there, help the goal difference at the same time, give us a bit of momentum, get that run started, and then give us something to actually be really excited and atmospheric for when Plymouth come because we'll need it. So, yeah, 4-0.
Who's going to score then if we're all doing the goal scorers?
God.
You got enough people to score 4 goals in a game.
I've got to find four goal scorers.
Not necessarily. Someone could score 4.
I think Joseph gets his first, whether it's off the bench or if he starts. Pedro will get one. Crooks will get one. And Kamara. Going left field. I was going to say Gallagher, but Joe said that, so I'm going Kamara.
All right. Well, we've got a 2, we've got a 3, we've got 4. Let's go 5-0 Hull City on my birthday. 5.
Now you're just taking the meat now.
God.
Oh, well,
this is a serious podcast, Nathaniel, and you're taking it down silly routes now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I thought you were going to say we've got a 2, a 3, a 4. I'm going to go 1.
Oh yeah. I'll do that then. Actually, if we're being serious, I'll go 1-0 Northern Emirabat winner.
You're so negative.
Well, I've been slated for not slating him all episode. I say Northern
Show
Emirabat.
some more spirit, for God's sake, Nathaniel.
Thunder bastard, 35-yard screamer in the last minute to win it, and you're saying
he actually runs 80 yards and takes on the vast majority of the pitch with blistering pace, slots it in the far corner, lifts up his shirt and says, "Was that for you, Nathaniel?" With the question mark.
And the liner pulls it back for a foul.
Yeah.
If Northern Emirabat runs 80 yards, it's going to keel over. No. Yeah, I'm Emirabat 5 goals, 5-0. How about that? So, we'll be back next week. I'll be an entire year older. Hopefully, we get some more things to celebrate, especially it's my birthday, with a big win against Cardiff, 1 or 5 goals. Either will do. And we'll be back next week to discuss Cardiff and just Cardiff, because, of course, it's the FA Cup and hopefully Plymouth get absolutely destroyed by Man City or go to extra time and get exhausted. Either one. So, and Joe, Will, do you want to say goodbye as well?
Bye, guys.
Yeah. See you later.
Yeah.
If you're a Nazi, fuck off.
Yes. Here. And on that bombshell, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.